Hello, my name is Carla from Homecare Realty. Today, we will be answering some questions regarding property management. Question 17, FAQ. Do tenants have to attend the inspection? Tenants are not required to attend the inspection, but it is a good idea for them to be there and take part. The landlord must suggest 2 appointment times for the inspection. The landlord must complete the inspection 1 week before or after the tenant moves in and moves out. The landlord's 2 suggested inspection times must be on separate days between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. The inspection cannot be on a holiday. If the tenant cannot attend either suggested times, they can try to negotiate a new time with the landlord. But the landlord does not have to agree to a new date or time. If the tenant cannot attend the appointment times offered, the landlord can complete the inspection report without the tenant. The move-in inspection gives the tenant the chance to point out any damage to the property. A tenant should also take photos to avoid any damage that gets missed. If the tenant is present for the move-out inspection, he or she can remind the landlord about the damage that was present at move-in and ensure no unnecessary deductions are taken. Having the tenant present for both inspections is a proactive way of avoiding any conflicts over the condition of the property. Question 18, FAQ. What happens if a tenant does not show up for the inspection? If a tenant doesn't go to the inspection appointment, the landlord can carry out the inspection alone. The landlord will complete the inspection report and indicate that the tenant was not present. The landlord must give the tenant a copy of the report. In the case of a move-in report, it could be left under the tenant's door. In the case of a move-out report, it should be mailed to the tenant's new address. If the tenant does not agree with anything in either of the reports, they should mark this clearly on the report and give a copy back to the landlord. If the tenant disagrees with the condition as reflected in the report, then it is a good idea for the tenant to take date-stamped pictures of the property. Question 19, FAQ. What should a tenant look for at move-in inspection? The inspection report should reflect the condition of the property on move-in and move-out. During the move-in inspection, it is important to take note of anything that is damaged or missing from the property. The tenant or landlord should take pictures of each room in the property during the inspection. Tenants should look for the following items during a move-in inspection: missing light fixtures, nicks and nail holes in walls, the condition of the floors including any stains or rips in the carpet, closet doors that do not work properly, dirt behind the fridge and stove, broken or cracked windows and missing screens, leaking faucets, missing oven racks and fridge shelves. Tenants should check that all appliances are in good working order and turn them on to ensure that they are working properly. Tenants should also check the plumbing, heating, and electrical fixtures. Question 20, FAQ. Can the inspection report be changed if the tenant notices something wrong after signing it? Once the tenant signs off on an inspection report, it is a final document and usually not changed. If the tenant notices damage in the property after moving in, they should inform the landlord in writing. The tenant should alert the landlord as soon as possible of the damage. By putting the problem down in writing, the tenant will have proof that they alerted the landlord of the problem. This way, it may help protect the tenant's security deposit later. Question 21, FAQ. What does an inspection report look like? There is no standard form inspection report in Alberta. The wording that must be in the inspection report depends on the circumstances. All inspection reports must contain the following statement: inspections should be conducted when the premise is vacant unless the landlord and tenant or their agents otherwise agree. If the landlord and the tenant conduct the inspection together, then the report must contain the following statement and the landlord must sign this statement: the inspection of the premises was conducted on date, by landlord's name and by tenant's name. The report must contain the following 2 statements and the tenant must sign one of them. I, name of tenant, agree that this report fairly represents the condition of the premises. I, name of tenant, Disagree that this report fairly represents the condition of the premises for the following reasons. List the reasons. If the tenant refuses to sign either of the above statements, then the report must include the statement, the tenant or tenant's agent present at the inspection refused to sign the tenant's statement. The landlord must then sign this statement. If the landlord conducts the inspection alone without the tenant, then the report must include this statement and it must be signed by the landlord. The inspection of the premises was conducted on date by landlord's name without the tenant or the tenant's agent being present. Question 22. FAQ. Who should keep a copy of the inspection report? After each inspection, move-in inspection and move-out inspection, the landlord must immediately give the tenant a written copy of the inspection report. The tenant should keep a copy of the inspection report in their records. Landlords must keep the inspection reports for 3 years after the tenant moves out. Keeping good records protects both the landlord and tenant. Question 23. FAQ. What can happen if an inspection report was not completed? If the landlord does not complete the move-in or move-out inspection reports, they cannot keep the security deposit. But the landlord can keep the security deposit to cover other things like unpaid rent. If the landlord keeps the security deposit for physical damage to the property and has not completed either of the inspection reports, then the landlord has committed an offense. The tenant can contact Service Alberta for more information about making a consumer complaint. The tenant could also make an application in Provincial Court Civil or through the Residential Tenancy Dispute Resolution Service for return of the security deposit. If there is damage beyond normal wear and tear, the landlord could make an application to cover the damage. They can do so through Provincial Court or through the Residential Tenancy Dispute Resolution Service. Question 24. FAQ. Can a tenant refuse to pay rent? There is only one situation where a tenant can refuse to pay rent. When a landlord and tenant have a written lease, the landlord must give the tenant with a signed copy of lease within 21 days of the tenant signing the lease and returning it to the landlord. If the landlord does not provide a signed copy of the lease within 21 days, the tenant can refuse to pay rent. But as soon as the landlord provides a signed copy, the tenant must pay the landlord the withheld rent.